How we doing today? Good. Well, I think that once we got going in the Mississippi State game, we played a lot better. We had some early, bumps in the road on offense that were drive stoppers again. But once we got sort of past that, I thought we executed and played pretty well. I think Jalen settled down in the game and played well. And defensively, we played, except for a couple spurts in the game where I thought we lost our intensity a little bit, played pretty well, made some improvement. So, we need to build on the things that we're doing well. We need to eliminate. And it's kind of like, when do you say enough is enough when it comes to, some of these things that we're doing to shoot ourselves in the foot, which are easily correctable. We need to get them corrected. We're playing a really good team this week, so it's going to be really important, I think, that they're playing as well as they played all season long. They've gotten better and better since the early game, and they got a lot of good players. They're really good on defense. Jimbo does a really good job with them on offense. They got some really good skilled players. So it's going to be really important for us to have the kind of intensity that we need to have throughout the week in practice. It's almost like, hey, we're going to challenge you this week in practice because it's going to be hard in the game. And you need to be locked in all week long, and you need to be ready for the challenge that you're going to get when you play against a good team on the road in a really tough environment. So, this team is leading the conference in defense. They're very good up front on defense, very difficult to run the ball against, and they score a lot of points. And the combination of those two things make them a really, really good team. So this is going to be a real challenge for us.
Start on the left with Chase.
Connor Talty made a pretty nice solo tackle on a kickoff return Saturday. How confident are you in the specialists as a group, as tacklers, and how often do you throw those guys in a tackling drill just to make sure their technique is sharp?
Well, I hope they never have to make a tackle, if you want to know the truth about it. I mean, one of the worst things that could ever happen to us is one of them, because we have good specialists, so we put them in a tackling drill and they get hurt and they can't kick anymore. So they got to kick a lot, they got to tackle a little. So you got to kind of prioritize. We do that some in camp, but I'm just hoping that they never have to make a tackle. And I think if we cover kicks the way we're supposed to, hopefully they won't.
Hey, Coach. Have you been able to pinpoint the issue on the snaps and maybe how to clean those up?
Well, we got to have just a little better focus, I think, on the importance of the snap, because this has been a pretty consistent, issue where it makes it harder for the quarterback to be able to function when, he doesn't have a dependable snap to deal with, whether he's faking, whether it's a play action pass, whether he's trying to read coverage, because you got to take your eyes off what you want to be looking at to be able to catch the ball. So that's something we've been working on, and we certainly need to continue to work on it and improve, no question.
Middle with Matt.
Have you seen Caleb Downs get better this season as he's gained a little bit of experience?
Yeah, I think Caleb was a really good player, right to start with. I think that, one of the things that freshmen especially, they kind of get the defense, they kind of learn what they're supposed to do, and then you start getting into game plans where you got to tweak those things a little bit. That's where the experience really comes into play. So then you can put yourself in the right position, more often. But he's played really, really well for us. He's bright, smart, very instinctive as a football player. Really works hard to prepare, very conscientious in terms of making sure that he knows exactly what he's supposed to do, where he's supposed to be, and how he fits on the plays. And I think that being a good player and being a very conscientious person, the combination of those two has really enhanced his development and improvement.
Cody.
What's been your evaluation at left tackle the last couple weeks with Proctor and Pritchett?
Yeah, well, I thought they played better in this game. This is probably the best they played, all year. So the offensive line as a whole, played one of their better games against a, difficult, front that stunts a lot. But 74 probably played the best he's played all year, which is a good thing, and hopefully that'll give him some confidence. And I still think we have confidence that 57 can do a good job for us as well.
Stay up here with Nick Kelly.
Is there anything different that you've noticed from Dallas Turner this year as compared to his first 2 seasons?
Dallas has always been a good player for us. He's always, a hard worker, really conscientious guy. Has a sort of high standard for how he wants to play and do things. And this year, I think he's tried to take on a little bit more of a leadership role in terms of how he can impact and affect other people, on the team, which I think he's done a good job of. And, he's played really well for us.
Go Nick Alvarez right here.
How do you develop a quarterback's internal clock when it comes to either staying in the pocket or scrambling?
I don't know how how you going to deal with not having your phone. You're of that generation, that I gotta have it. I think practice. The one thing that you can do in practice and get away with is not have to play with the right time clock, to use your terminology. In terms of the rush is not going to be as quick. You can hold the ball, you can try to figure things out, but then in a game that all changes. So I think to create circumstances in practice where you have to get the ball out on time, and you're constantly talking about getting the ball out on time. I think that's really, really important, for guys to develop that sense of time clock. And it's the timing of the play. Sometimes when you hold the ball, the play's open for a second, then it closes. So you got to throw the ball on time. That's very, very important, and we got to keep working on that.
Down the right with Mike Rodak.
We saw Jeremiah Alexander with the inside linebackers before the game. How much is that related to Lawson's injury versus something more permanent? What have you seen from him in general?
Well, I think it's something we've been considering. And Jeremiah was developing nicely as an outside backer, wasn't getting to play much. So the injury kind of enhanced, this is the right time to do this. And I think it could be good for us in the future.
Ryan.
Coach, before the season, you talked about the cake analogy with the quarterback. But as far as the defense, really a statement win this weekend. Do you use a different analogy, or is it kind of like a cake that never comes out? It's still growing every week.
Well, it needs to grow every week. I think the whole team needs to grow every week. I think that, there's so many things that we can improve on. There's so many things that, if we can learn and pay attention to detail and have a sense of urgency and sustain that, whether it's practice, games, whatever, we're going to eliminate some of, our negatives that have proven, pretty costly. I mean, you can say we won the game, but you want to eliminate, some of the mistakes, because you always look at the play and say, okay, did they make a play because of what they did and how they executed it, or was there some error on our part that allowed them to make a play? And those are the things you need to eliminate, because then you're playing with a little more consistency, and the whole object is to make the other team beat you. Don't beat yourself.
Yeah, Coach, you said before the game, Miss Terry told you to get onto the players if things didn't go well in the beginning. After the game, what did you think her thoughts on the game were?
Well, she waited up for me to get home, so that was a good thing. But it was one of the first games she's missed and didn't go to since we've been here. I think it is the first game, actually. And so, she says she can see what's happening a lot better on TV. So I got coached up quite a bit when I got home.
Two more. We'll start in the back.
Hey, Coach, do you pay much attention to the standings or the rankings at all and with how things are currently shaping up? Are you letting your guys know that everything they want to achieve is still right there in front of them?
Look, we're trying to play one game at a time. We're trying to improve our team. I can't tell you where we're ranked. I can't tell you what the standings are. I think everybody kind of realizes, the importance of every game that we play. So the whole focus is, how can we play better? How can we play good? How can we improve? Not worrying about some outcome-oriented thing that may happen 2 months from now. I'm focused on what am I going to do in the next 5 minutes, the next 30 minutes, the next hour, the next 2 hours, the next 3 hours to help us play better as a team. That's all I care about. And I think that's my job. So we got guys like this guy over here who can do standings and rankings and put a poll together and say who should be this and that. And he's good at that. And I thank him for it. And just less time I have to spend doing it.
We're going to finish with Joe.
Coach Jihad got the start this past weekend. Obviously got the interception, but maybe missed a little. How do you coach him to have correct eyes in the backfield with all the motions and movements that Mississippi State did?
Yeah, well, we practice it all week. Discipline eye control is one of the most important things in playing football. And like everybody grows up watching the ball. I've talked about this before. So that's how you watch a game. But when you're playing a game, you have specific keys and things to look at. Like if the guard pulls, it doesn't matter which way the back goes, your key says go this way. When they run a slider, you got to know when you got to fall back and when you don't. All right, so we just got to keep working and working and working on those things so that, and I think communication, helps that. And we're constantly on the secondary to communicate, because if they communicate, it makes it easier for the linebackers to know how and when and what they're supposed to do. So, Jihad makes a lot of plays, and he's developing nicely at the position, but experience is going to be critical for him to continue to grow and develop.
All right, thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you.